Alright, hello again everybody, welcome back to the Sonic Adventure Era Marathon 2024. We're chugging along nicely, and we're currently sat at $300, incredible for the first day. We're over halfway towards our original goal. Thank you so much to everybody who's donated so far. If you want to chip in, you can do with the !donate command, raising money in support of Extra Life Children's Miracle Network Hospitals. But right now, coming up, we've got a Sonic 06 doubleheader, back-to-back, starting off with Labrys, showing us Silver Story. Sorry. Okay, now we're live.
Hello, I'm Labrys. Joining me on commentary is codename Xanax.
What is up, everyone?
And this is Sonic 06 Silver Story, no credits for it. Silver is typically known casually for his more like puzzle-based, slower kind of gameplay, but the speedrun takes quite a different approach to the story. Let's show it off. I'm gonna start in 3, 2, 1.
Good luck.
Thanks. I'll need it. So, slower puzzle-based gameplay. He can lift objects and throw them, as shown in the infographic. He can also use them as platforms. First thing we're going to be doing is levitating. We can pick ourselves up. We can also pick ourselves on an object up and then throw it. This is called tele-throwing. As long as you can stand on a liftable object at a suitably steep incline, you can cover large amounts of distances in seconds. That area there was about 2.5 minutes long casually. It took me about 14. So normally we would play as Blaze here, but instead we're going to jump off this away to avoid the trigger that has a switch to her, because she is actually slower. She's a very conveniently placed rock right here. It should also be noted that you can change directions based on what angle Silver is facing. So we can turn corners if the object lets us.
One important thing to note is that he held X going into that load screen, which buffers an input.
I'll go on ahead.
This lets Blaze hit Silver faster, which saves time.
We have conveniently placed rock number 3. We get 56. I'm still able to control Silver because I switched characters from who I spawned into, but I never hit a checkpoint afterwards. Gives me free reign to get that one up there, which counts in the next stage. Speaking of the next stage, that's Iblis 1. Iblis 1 is a very straightforward boss. Very scripted. Right, but if you do go off script, you tend to lose a lot of time. We're supposed to kill him in 4 batches of 3 rocks each. You can't throw these batches too fast, or else they will explode on each other as they make contact with the boss. And I'm going to come up here and grab these 3. Just a bit of a better angle of the explosions I was talking about. Coming up here is a trick called bonus cycle. Stand right here. Throw one over his arm. Those who missed, but that's fine.
It's not over yet. Don't let your guard down, Silver.
Oh, that was so close to missing the cycle. Woo! It's the closest I've come to going off script for that boss in a long time. But yeah, so 45 or so is generally what you want.
Perfect.
Making good time.
To explain bonus cycle a little, throwing those rocks when he was doing the fireball attack allows you to hit him a little earlier than you normally would, which saves some time, but not too much, so it's okay to miss.
Yeah, it's
It's also hard to get.
Yeah, it's about 3 or 4 seconds. Maybe closer to 5. It's not much. So a bit of plot. You get thrown into what is canonically the present to find who we don't know is Sonic, but Sonic. Some blue hedgehog who ruined everything.
The Ibble is triggered. Where is he?
And to get to our next destination, the Tropical Jungle Portal, we're going to use another conveniently placed rock. As I traverse these spaces, I'm like, wow, they really made you just walk all the way here. The Silver does not move as fast, and that tree is very real when it feels like it. Ooh, I dropped it way too low. We're fine. Now, rocks are all fine and dandy, but that's not just the only thing we can tell if they're on. Boxes are usually flat surfaces that you can stand on, but you can rotate them a bit, and then they become perfectly telethrowable objects. I pan the camera over here to reduce a little bit of lag, and we forget that Tropical Jungle ever existed.
You cut it really close to that pillar.
We're fine. Not my intention. I'm going to do another one of those hold the X button things, but instead of during a load screen, it's during the cutscene just before this load screen. This will break me out of the automation that normally just sends me through the loop-de-loop and takes me to the next section. But we can have other ideas. I'm gonna let this one explain itself. And now we're over here. That is a loop launch. Anyone with a homing attack or homing attack equivalent like Blaze can have loop terrain redirect. Just push them out of the way of their intended target, which is the path that defines the loop. And you accelerate indefinitely until you either hit your target, a wall, or the vast emptiness of space. That saves about 45 seconds for a drive.
Can't complain.
I cannot complain. Blaze is correct.
The only interesting Blaze level out of the two we play.
Unfortunately. Unless something magical happens. I'm unsure if the magic is there. Normally, so this is our first sequence break. There are a couple of small sequence breaks in Silver. This is the first one. You're supposed to do... you're supposed to save Lord Regis from a bunch of Eggman robots. There's a bunch of loading involved, and we don't want any of that. And the mission itself is about 50 seconds to a minute long. And you got a results screen. Don't want to deal with any of it. But thankfully, they put the Dusty Desert portal here and active. And just kind of repackaged, ready to go. So what I just did was the lift exploit, is if you push yourself into a ceiling with a flat surface, you can just clip through the ceiling. I'm going to let Zans explain this one.
So, Dusty Desert is a very hard level casually due to the ball puzzle at the end of the level. However, we don't want to do any of the level intended, except for maybe walking through the beginning of it. What we're going to see is Labrys picks up a pot at the very beginning, and we're going to do something very similar to what we just did to skip the mission, which is a lift exploit. This allows Labrys to get out of bounds, and then we'll pick up a pot from out of bounds, use the sand to push the pot out of bounds with us. The robot broke a pot, so we have to go get a backup pot.
Just you wait, Iblis Trigger.
Fine.
And since both pots break, we can't get the pots on the other side, so we have to restart the mission.
That's better.
Anyways, once we are out of bounds, with the pot also out of bounds from being pushed on the sand wall, with silver and objects go very well together because of telethrow. So what is a very hard level casually can be reduced to just one telethrow. However, there is a death ceiling here that can be hit, so we have to be careful to not hit it, and that is Dusty Desert.
Perfect.
Okay. Not only do you skip 2 ball puzzles, but you also skip 3 minutes of mandatory Amy gameplay. What would be mandatory Amy gameplay otherwise? And now we get to our second boss, Sonic. We finally found the guy. So we're gonna beat him up with a bunch of furniture. It's gonna be awesome. That's about as deep as this boss gets.
That hurt. Here I come. What? I'm serious. That hurt. Here I come. No.
Yeah, that was good. I want something... Oh, in the background. I want something slower or at a 13-second time, because if I go 12 or below, that means I get an extra gold medal, which takes about 5.5 seconds. So going slow is really the key to going fast.
It is possible to do Sonic faster than what the gold medal would lose you. However, it's very difficult and requires double hits from tables. So it's not reliable enough to go for in full game run.
Yeah, nowhere near. So we're supposed to head for Dr. Eggman's base. Cool. It's gated off by a bunch of lasers that are supposed to be solved with a upgrade we get from the shock, aka the shock bracelet, which is really cool casually. Makes the whole silver combat experience not as painful, but with the speedrun, it makes a couple of tricks that we'll see later in the run much more limited in scope. So, I'm gonna take this sign. Can you please flip over for me? Thank you. Sometimes you need to talk to the objects. Whoop. Don't ask. I don't know. Yeah, we're gonna go for it. I'm gonna make this a little less boring. This is the last time we see Blaze as playable. He's around as like a sidekick, but he never switched to her ever again in the story, which is sad. So that is not a clip I just did. There's just a physical gap between the lasers and the irregularly shaped wall.
Yeah, Sonic came in small enough gaps to fit through.
Yep. Thank you for that one. I don't need to defeat all the enemies there. See if I get this, I got it!
You need to defeat all the enemies.
That is an AFC. So what I did was I did a spinning claw and jumped at the same frame to preserve all my speed from that dash panel and carry it all the way so I could clip through the door. That saves about 10 seconds. Now before Teleco, this was a walk-a-thon. Everyone hated White Acropolis. But now we have a couple of carefully placed Telecros to get us through the level in short order. And we get a 133.
It is a very good time.
That was easy.
It was a pretty good time with AFC. I'm honestly very surprised I got it. I haven't gotten it at all in practice. Or in runs recently, even.
Yeah, AFC is frame perfect? Question mark?
Perfect.
So it's very hard to get, along with the one chance you have to get it right there.
Yeah. There are 3 outcomes. You save the time, you break even, or you lose 50 seconds. So.
A guard, huh? Just try and stop me.
So Genesis is all about counting the sticks. Has more HP than we can hold. So
Let's finish this.
I'm gonna count to 5 this time. Let's drop what we have so we can pick up these new ones. I knew that wasn't enough.
They're locked onto you. Shake them off.
Small time loss, but
Silver, watch it. He's coming in.
I'm gonna jump into Genesis. This final attack cannot kill you. Even if it does hit you with no ring. I suppose that's penance for
Perfect.
hitting AFC, is getting a iffy Genesis, but hey. We hit AFC. That's pretty cool. Coming up is everyone's favorite mission, and if you do have a small donation, it's a great time to read it after I give the rundown. Mandatory Amy gameplay. I swear I am moving as fast as I can, and as soon as I can at all times. Trust.
Now this is speed walking.
This is real speed walking. Sometimes the camera can hit twice. Pretty cool when it does. We can take that few out enemies quite nicely.
Are you kidding me?
No, I'm not. I'm not aiming. That's all. And that's the entirety of Amy. Thank goodness.
No more Amy. She's gone forever.
Until Ori's run, I think. I think that's the next Amy-related paraphernalia we have. But for this run, she's gone. Goodbye. We're going to perform our second sequence break as we head for the station. Normally there is a tiny mission that is a stealth mission and takes about 6 or 7 seconds. But it is surrounded by result screens and loads, and we don't have time for that. So we're gonna get what you need to trigger the mission anyways, which is the Heart of Wind. The Heart of Wind gives you a very short, but while it's active, it is a very fast teleport dash that you can extend by holding X on the last frame, for as long as you hold X and are airborne. But yes, the last frame. It is a frame perfect trick. It allows you to attain speeds, to shove yourself in the corners and clip through them. That would be impossible otherwise. You go around that camera trigger. And around the mission trigger itself. So we can just skip straight to Radical Train. Fan favorite telethrow incoming. Shoutouts to Telethrow's Discover Focus.
I'm not going to let the Iblis trigger get
He
away.
discovered this on an accident during a marathon in 2020. And this single trick has lowered the record 5 minutes. Single-handedly, pretty much. And it makes Radical Train a joke.
Looks like I'm on a roll.
It combined with the power of the extended teleport dash makes for a fearsome combination of very fast up and very fast forward. However, we have one kind of roadblock. Shadow. Whereas Sonic had many, many, many items which to kill him, Shadow barely has enough. But they do respawn. So I'm going to jump over those shovels there. They don't deal damage. I'm trying to stagger them just enough so that they hit him but not collide into each other. Great Shadow. Anything sub 40 is phenomenal. Can't really ask for much better.
Perfect.
Yeah, the thing with Shadow is just that the barrels are so big that they get in the way of each other. So you usually just take what you can get, but sub 40 is very good for a full game run.
I'd be very happy with that in an attempt. Oh, now we have the best cutscene in the game. We're gonna slow down just a little bit.
Chaos control.
Gets me every time.
Yeah, watching that cutscene actually saves time.
Yeah, makes the endorphins go burr. Aquatic Base is actually one of the untouched by Telehill levels, but
A laboratory like this?
uses a hefty amount of ETBs.
Those enemies look like they're guarding that door. Let's start by getting rid of them.
Almost did something very dumb. I almost tried to slap the lizard, which would very likely get me hit with no rings. However, you're on to the second half of Aquatic Base. Sorry, Shadow. You get no playtime.
Yeah, normally you have to play Shadow in Aquatic Base, but using the Heart of Wind, we can just clip mostly anywhere, because with enough speed and the correct angle, walls are a suggestion. And we don't like them.
Nope. Bad suggestion. Including this one. Nice. That specific one is called Hope and Flip. So you just kind of hope you flip. This is one of 2 required combat sequences in the entire run. You have to hope these birds play nice. Nice. Okay.
Isn't there technically 3 combat sections?
It's just Aquatic Base and Plaincourt. I mean, not Plaincourt.
Kingdom Valley.
In the valley.
There's also that mission, Test of Heart.
I mean, for a main stage. Yeah. I guess there's Test of Heart in Mission 12 too. But we'll get there. For now, we have to protect Anna. Because she knows the secret, apparently. And if I do this correctly, Silver is going to stop. Give it a bit. Castletown is the longest area to load into in the game. So much in it.
I'm going to stop Dr. Hey.
Yeah, he's going to stop Doctor. Oops. He finally clarified. So, this is an escort mission. You have to protect Anna from all these oncoming Eggman robots. They're trying to block her path. Fortunately, we have a different approach to this problem. Instead of destroying the robots, we simply walk away from our problem. You know? And sometimes to the left of our problems. Look at that. The enemy's drawing relative to Silver. And Anna is just programmed to keep going if there are no enemies present nearby. Yeah. This is optimal. Because she never theoretically gets stopped. Nice 127. NCW means no credits work. That means we complete the whole story without doing any shenanigans. And yes, there are credits worked. Cool. Every hedgehog has one. Some have multiple.
Yeah, the credits warp for Silver is right before Dusty Desert in Castletown, which is very convenient because that means not playing Dusty Desert.
Sure. Honestly. It is a run killer for sure. If you're not credits warping. No problem. Meanwhile, Anna made it to her destination. This guard says thank you. I'm like, no problem. You did it yourself. Why are you so worried?
That was easy.
And now for the trials. Some of you may remember something called Trial Skip. And it is a very long and complex skip that skips the next 3 missions I'm about to do. It requires about 50 on average. Very precise, as far as angle is concerned, frame perfect levitation extensions. And it allows you to scale up the mountain. The 06, ever since then, has had a timing method change for the good of everybody. And unfortunately, Trial Skip is slower now. I swear you can ETD off that rock and go really fast. Sometimes, if you're not within range of an NPC, you can just flap them and scale them. Yeah, all 3 of these guys are a nerd. Anyways, the test of friendship. You just have to get Blaze out of the cage. Or so we think. Well, if we don't have corners we can clip through, we just create them. Also, that usually doesn't happen. Boxes do not usually balance on their edges. And I did not expect that to let me clip through. But hey, we take those.
Looks like I'm on a roll.
Bye, Blaze. Bye, Blaze. So now we have a whole bunch of loading screens. This is part of why Trial Skip was faster. It was because you skipped this. I'm gonna let you... I'm just gonna say this aisle takes about a minute. Oh. In-game, it takes about 3 seconds. In real time, it takes about a minute. It's a multiple choice test that we already know the answers to. So we just go through the correct portal and we win. Ta-da! A whole 3.7.
Perfect.
Now for the test of heart. We call them trials, but in Silver's load screens they're tests. But for Sonic they're trials. I don't know. Sonic and Silver have to do kind of the same thing. To get into Kingdom Valley. This is a cool combat mission because there's no objects anywhere. You just have to kind of use the ammunition that the enemies fire at you and just throw it back. Kind of test your game knowledge a little bit. I think it's kind of creative. I should have picked that one up. Okay. When you kill this gold one, you can also explode all of the green ones. So they're flying too far away because they summon more. And a 50 is a great time for that mission. Nice.
Perfect.
Yes, you may also pick up bad guys and use them as ammo. It's more reliable for the smaller ones. Throwing big ones I would not recommend. But now we enter Silver's unusually difficult endgames, which I'm going to let Zans take over for the majority.
Yeah, so starting off, this is the portal that takes you to Kingdom Valley, which is what Trial Skip would have got you to, and as you can see, it's very high up, which just shows how impressive Trial Skip was.
I know you had to scale 3 different walls. The third wall is
But
especially devious.
right after this loading screen, we're going to do what is called a tele-launch, which is the combination of, I believe, a telefling and a throw, which will allow you to lift the object exponentially into the sky, which gets you over the U-shaped level design very quickly due to an ETD.
I have considered the drops from smaller enemies. Thank you for asking.
The second part of Kingdom Valley actually lets you play as Sonic in Silver Story, and we don't want to do that because he's slow. So what we're going to do is grab the handy box, and we're going to try to align it with this part of the pillar to do a telethrow. This is a very steep wall that we have to get over first, which will put us out of bounds. And we are heading to the end of the level with this telethrow.
Thank goodness.
We got both ETDs, both saving a lot of time in this level specifically, just because it's such a large stretch for both segments. At the end, we just have a bit of combat that we need to do to make the gold ring appear.
Combat was a bit scuffed, but you know.
Looks like I'm on a roll.
Nah, I could have made it without an ETD there, but it was just very, very far out. Would have been close.
Yeah, Silver's hovering is pretty broken when you get levitation extensions. Saving momentum and rebuilding your gauge at the same time. Anyways, moving into Flame Core, another hard level, back to back. We're going to do something very similar to Sonic Skip, as seen in King Valley. There is a box here, however, doesn't seem to be anything to angle it off of, except for where we just took the ring capsule. Very conveniently placed, enough to just tilt the box so that we can telethrow with it. Allows you to skip effectively probably half the level.
Wait, no matter how many of them, what? The waste of time?
And then that SETD saves a lot more time because you skip combat, a door that you'd have to open. Flame Core is just very long and casually. So, as usual, we want to skip all of it.
Ow.
What we call puffs that fall from the sky are complete RNG, can hit you, even during hitting the trigger at the end of the level, which as Sonic or Shadow would kill you. Silver gets to hover for a bit after being hit.
Yeah, getting puffed is unfortunate.
The second segment of Flame Core is a bit easier, but also a bit harder depending on how much you want to push it, because there's a lot of doors that you can clip through. One such door is that one you just opened. You clip through it at the end. These doors are very hard to clip through, so usually we just end up opening them, which if we miss it, doesn't waste that much time. Now, so if we needed a ring entering this room because of standing on that lava there, and we also needed rings there to stand on more lava and make that jump.
Okay, let's move on.
This is the last segment of Flame Core. We need to make sure we have even more rings for something later.
Is that the power of Iblis?
Nice clip of the door. BTD to the giant puff. And we're going to hover over the lava, and we're going to be hit by the puff, in which we need to pick up a ring so that we can extend invincibility frames for even longer later.
As if they weren't long enough.
And we just do a pause buffer teleslide through the door, finishing Flame Core.
Perfect.
Now we got one last boss before the end of the story. Iblis 3. Where is Iblis 2, you ask? It's in the other two stories. This is RNG, but it's not a continuous scale of RNG. There are kind of tiers you can get. You can get a 410, which is as slow as you can possibly go, but you can go faster depending on how much damage you deal to him
Iblis, this will be your end.
during these first few cycles. You get 3 of these back at him. You go from a 310.
It looks like he's getting closer to his final form.
Yeah, that's 4.
You'll be in trouble if
So
you
we're in the
get
clear for a
close.
220.
Try to keep him away from him.
If we get 4 more, we get a sub 2. And if we were to get any less than 3, it would be 3 minute 10. Yeah, that's 6, so that's in the 220 range. And now we wait. We take this time to shout out quite a few people. Shout out to the runners of the story that helped me learn the game a long time ago. Shout out to Nick. Shout out to Focus. Both of them really developed the category when Teleco was first found, and make it what it is today, as well as provided me the inspiration to run the story in the first place. Y'all are awesome. Shoutouts to some of the newer blood for trying it out. Shoutouts to my co-commentator Sans. Shoutouts to Reverie, which you're going to be seeing up next. And shoutouts to anyone else who's really picked up and tried this kind of thing out. Despite all the loads and the allegations, most things ain't that bad. Silver is just a wonderful spectacle. And time comes when this last hit connects with Iblis's head. And that's Silver story. With the lamest death animation possibly conceived. He just kind of falls over. Okay.
Perfect!
So is the final time 44:12 around there?
We've got a 44:06 on our end.
That
Perfect fitting.
That best marathon time I've had. Period.
Yeah, massive GGs. Always a fun time seeing Silver. Good work on the run. Very fun time to watch. And yeah, lots of GGs coming in here. Anything left to say, really? You finished a good little portion under estimate.
Run this game. And if you're not convinced, there's more of it coming right up. It's pretty awesome. And everyone here is quite happy to help you out. With setting things up and everything else. So feel free to join the 06 Discord, which is on our SRC page. And I think it's in the Sacer channel bio. I think links to every single game server that you see here.
Literally just a scroll down and you can join the 06 Discord. It's always cool to see more 06 runners on the scene.
Yeah,
Doesn't get enough love, never does.
Yeah, we are one of the smaller games, but we're still here. We're still kicking. We're still doing the speedrun thing.
Absolutely. And we got more 06 speedrun action coming up right after the break, because we got Rev gonna show off Sonic Story with no major glitches, so not going to be as broken as Silver Story can be, but I'm sure we'll see some fun stuff either way. But yeah, that'll wrap us up here. If there's any final things to say at all, I'll let you say them now, but if not...
I think that covers about everything. Thank you for having me on.
Alright. Always a pleasure. Thank you both. Thank you, Lab and Zans, for hopping on in here. Don't go anywhere, gamers, because shortly after the break, we'll be right back with more Sacer action. See you in a bit.